Hey guys, welcome back to another impressions video, and today I'm going to talk about this game right here, Tales of Xillia for the PlayStation 3, a JRPG that's part of the very famous series of the Tales of games. And I know I'm a little bit late to the party. This game got released last year, but a friend of mine who's a huge Tales of fan kept bugging me, and he wanted me to buy this game and play it, and so I did. I got this on sale on last Black Friday, and I'm really glad I went and played this game. I have to admit that this is the first Tales of game that I beat so far. I have played a couple of the games in the series in the past. I believe I remember playing Tales of Symphonia for, I think, the GameCube, was it? But again, I never played more maybe than an hour because I was at a friend's house, and I basically just watched him play the game. So this is my first proper, I guess, entry into the Tales of series, and I'm really glad I picked this game because I enjoyed this game a lot. And I think the main success of this game is that it does a lot of things in a good way. Admittedly, this is not a masterpiece of a JRPG like Xenoblade is. I think Xenoblade took a lot of components such as graphics, soundtrack, combat system, character development, and each one of those things were just on the great category. So when you put all of those things together, you get a masterpiece. Tales of Xillia is not quite in that level, but again, it does have a good story, a good character development, a pretty fun and addicting combat system. So when you add all of those things up, it makes up for a very, very solid and fun JRPG. As far as the story, I'm not gonna go too deep into it because I believe that most people that already wanted to play this game have already beaten it. But in case you haven't played this game yet, just very briefly, you get to pick to play as either Jude, which is a young medical student, or Mila Maxwell. She's actually like this lord of spirits, and very early in the game she loses all of her powers, and she's on a mission to find and destroy this very powerful weapon called the Lance of Kresnik. That it's the original purpose of that weapon is to there are basically two kingdoms that are battling against each other. So this Lance of Kresnik is actually a weapon that's to be used in war, and it makes use of spirits. And Mila, being the lord of the spirits, her job is to protect the spirits, and also I guess preserve the balance and harmony between humans and spirits. So her purpose is to find that weapon and destroy it so that it doesn't get used in the wrong hands. Obviously, the story takes a lot of twists and turns along the journey. So that's just the basic, I guess, plot of the story. But a lot of things happen throughout the game, and I think one of the best things about this game is that it finds. The first thing is that this is not a very long JRPG. It took me, I would say, around 34 hours to beat the game. Granted, I did skip a lot of the sub-stories, but I really enjoyed the length of the game. I think the combination of the story and all the plots and twists that happen during the game, the story never gets too tiring, and in fact it's quite the opposite. You want to keep playing the game to see what happens next. And another staple of the Tales of series, based on the opinions of people out there that are fans of the series, is the character development. And whether you like the characters in this game or not, the game basically just pounds you through via cinematic sequences or voice dialogue or skits. This game is gonna make sure that by the end of the game you have an opinion about the characters of the game. Again, whether you like them or not, you're gonna learn their personalities, you're gonna learn how they behave and how they interact with one another. And I think that's a staple of the Tales of games. They really focus on character development and finding out and having the player find out more about them. so that you have an opinion on them. You know, you can either like them or hate them. And I do have to say that the entire cast in this game, for me at least, was very likable. Each member in the party had their own unique personality. I do have to say that if I had to pick my favorites, I would probably go with Jude, Mila, and Alvin, just because, well, Jude and Mila, you know, you begin the game with them, and I don't know, you get to know them pretty early, and they have different personalities, but throughout the journey they get to know each other better. And especially Jude, his development, he turns from this, you know, young, I guess, medical student into a very mature person with ideals of his own, and he has a lot of, you know, he's a visionary by the end of the game. He has matured a lot personality wise. And of course you have Alvin, who I also liked him because he's a very mysterious person. You never know what to think about him. He has a kind of like a goofy and in a way cocky personality, but in the way throughout the game you're always wondering what is he gonna do next, and he has this very mysterious persona to him. And the rest of the characters were also enjoyable. So again, that's a major positive in my opinion of the game. The character development is very, very interesting. Now, another big positive in my opinion is the gameplay and the combat system. It's basically an action-based combat system in which you can roam freely, and you can do your regular attacks, and you can use arts, which are more powerful attacks that consume your you have a meter that it's consumed every time you use arts. But essentially, one cool thing about the combat system is that you can link characters, and when you link a character you can do linked arts. So for example, if you link Jude and Mila, they can do a variety of linked arts, and they have this very cool short cinematic sequence that you know, shows a more powerful attack. So it's very cool trying to link the arts and finding different combinations, and of course you're more than welcome to combine different characters with one another. So I think there's a lot of replay value, and there's a lot of depth in the combat system. However, I do have to admit, I played the game as Jude, by the way, and I stuck with him. Even though you can change your character and you can fight with a different person, I stuck with Jude throughout the entire game. For no reason really. I just decided to stick with him. It was very fun using him for battle. And of course I linked a couple characters with him, and I found out that both Mila and Alvin do a pretty good job when they link with Jude. Or if you want a very strong, like a medic type of or healing type of combination, Leia and Jude make for a good pair. So by the end of the game, my team was comprised of Jude, Alvin, and then Leia and Elise, and I found that to be a very powerful combination because they have, you know, the two girls in my party had that resurrection art where they can resurrect people, and they also have a lot of healing arts. So it was very useful for the tougher enemies and the boss battles and whatnot. So I had a lot of fun using that group of people. But overall, it was fun cycling between the different, or Link and Jude with different characters, and just watch their linked arts being performed. You can also upgrade not only your character via this system called the Lilian Orb, which I found pretty interesting because it allows you to customize your characters in certain ways. For example, if you want your character to be stronger or have a stat in the strength department, you just have to go to this Lilian Orb system and increase your points within the strength branch, if you will. And there are other statistics like, you know, vitality and you know, health points, technical points, agility, intelligence, and all sorts of statistics that you can again customize and grow your character in any way, shape, or form that you want. And obviously throughout the game you learn new arts, you learn new skills as well. And I really like the balance the balance in the game, all the characters basically level up equally. Even if you don't use certain characters in your party, they also level up. They get less points, but nevertheless, it's good enough. They get enough points that they never get lagged behind. They never get left behind in terms of not progressing level wise. So the level and the progression is pretty good. And also the leveling of the shops, I thought that was a pretty fun part of the game. And again, it helped to balance everything out, because throughout the game you find a lot of loot, especially when you're out in the open, in the fields, and you defeat enemies, you get items, and you can also open treasure chests, or you can find loot in walls or rocks or trees and whatnot. So you use those items to level up the different shops in the game, and I had a lot of fun leveling up, especially the weapon and the armor shops, to get better armor and better weapons, because the weapons in the game, they don't level up individually. You have to basically keep buying new weapons. So if you guys haven't played this game yet, I recommend that you guys level up your weapon and armor shop primarily, or give priority to those two. So it was fun just watching or purchasing new weapons and purchasing new armor, and see your character become stronger. Another thing that I liked about this game, and I think that was one of the main criticisms from fans of the series, was the overall structure of the game. I know that a lot of old school Tales of fans are fans of more of an open world concept, of the world map, if you will. Whereas this game is a little bit more linear than previous entries, I believe, in the sense that the structure is basically the same in every time you progress through the game. You get to a city, and in that city you get an objective, and in order to reach the next objective, you have to go to the next city, and to go to the next city you have to traverse usually 2 or 3 different open field areas, and this is where the regular enemies in the game are located. So you have to go through these fields and kill enemies, and this is where you get your loot. And if you explore enough, you can find treasure chests with better loot and whatnot. So it gets it sounds like it'll become repetitive, but for me it never did, because these areas that you progress are very short. Like I said, you only progress through 2 or 3 open areas, and open in quotation marks, because they're really linear in a way. So when you reach the next city, you either have to kill a boss, or you have to complete a certain objective, and that's how the game progresses. In a way, it seems like a linear progress, but I was totally fine with that system, and I cannot stress enough that the game never grew old on me, and I just never grew tired of the game, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 dungeons in the game, where the first dungeon that really gave me some headaches was Fort Gandala, which is early in the game, and it wasn't a difficult dungeon. It was just bland, in the sense that you have to go from room to room, and you have to figure out what rooms you already visited, and what rooms you have to go next. And the entire building it looked the same, so I put the game down for quite a while before I went back to it. So some dungeons in the game are not very interesting, but the overall structure of the game, I think it's a big positive. It's linear. I believe it's linear because, like I said, this is my first proper entry in the series. When compared to other games, I think this is a very linear kind of structure, but I did not have problems with that, and in fact I really enjoyed that. The difficulty in the game, regular enemies are really easy, but some of the boss battles can get quite challenging. So again, I was able to find a party that I was comfortable with, and I did spend time customizing my Lilium Orb upgrades and leveling up my characters and upgrading the shops. And I think I did a good job in doing that, to the point where I felt pretty confident. I did die quite a few times in some of the boss battles in the game, but at the end I was pretty happy with how the difficulty in the game ended up being. So the Tales of Xillia, I think it's a very, very good, solid JRPG. I wouldn't say it's my favorite by any stretch. But I'm pretty happy to have played this, and I cannot wait for Tales of Xillia 2. In fact, I have a pre-order, so I'm pretty excited. It was the perfect timing really for me to finish this game up, because Tales of Xillia is coming up next month. So I'm really excited to play that game, and I think for me it'll be a very nice transition, because I'm afraid that if I jump into another Tales of game, it may be way too different from the structure of Xillia. So I think jumping to Xillia 2 is gonna, I guess, help me out in the transition, if you will. So I'm excited for that game, and overall, again, the positives in this game: the story, I really enjoyed it. The character development is top notch, and again, whether you like the characters or not, you're gonna end up, watching a lot of cinematic sequences and skits. Which could be a negative for some of you out there, because you do spend a lot of time putting the controller down in this game just to listen to the skits or to watch the cinematic sequences and whatnot. So that could be a negative. I can see how some people may not like that, but the soundtrack, good but nothing memorable, just good enough in my opinion. The graphics, again, some of the textures in the game, some of the environments are pretty bland, pretty simple. Some of the textures and environments give you the feeling that the game was a little bit maybe rushed, or a little bit on the low budget end of things. But as far as the character models, they do have this unique cell shading look that it makes it look like an anime at certain points. So I really liked the cell shading character models in this game. The environments, not so much. They were pretty simple, and some of the textures were muddy and whatnot. But overall, good enough graphics in my opinion. But again, the main strength of Tales of Xillia is the story, the character development, and the overall structure, which again, I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the linearity of the game, if you will. So very happy with this game. If you haven't played it, I highly recommend it, especially because you can get it for pretty cheap nowadays, I believe. So pretty happy with this game, highly recommend it, and thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.